Of that 6.5 minutes I had with Lauren, I spent the first 60 seconds, 90 seconds, which is like a quarter of my time,
Yeah.
just talking to him for a second. And so you're just, it's like a speed round of chess or dating, speed dating or something. But it's not always like that. I mean, that was an extreme. And I don't prefer that. I don't want 6.5 minutes with somebody. Talk about stressful. It's stressful when you have 20, 30 minutes, an hour with somebody. Boiling it down to 6.5 minutes, it just becomes this different kind of stress, and it also just becomes this completely different experience where you're almost using complete muscle memory, and it's all feel, and you're just kind of
Yeah.
like black out and do it. Uh, it's not the way I like to do it. I definitely do not like the 6.5 minute
Yeah.
ones. They're usually like 30 minutes. Yeah, I got to go to Italy to go on press. I mean, anyone who's an analog film fan
Yeah. Yeah.
would just salivate over going on press. It's a one of a kind experience. I would. It's just so cool.
Can you
You can
explain
again
that for everybody
go
listening?
on.
Because I bet you plenty of people don't know what that is.
Yeah. Well, go on my Instagram. You can go back to whatever some more recent videos are. You'll see me on press, like showing people what the machines are and what we're doing. And but being on press is basically you're at the printing press, and your book is getting made. It's the plates are getting made through a photographic process, and then they're being put on these giant printing presses that are the size of in huge warehouses, and they're running your images on press. You're there, you're making decisions, you're making choices, you're seeing the ink hitting the plate, hitting the paper over and over and over again, and it's just it's a very different process in the darkroom, but equally cool and satisfying. It's that one of the coolest things about it, from some anyone who appreciates analog photography, anyone who appreciates the print, anyone who appreciates the dark room, is that because these machines are so unique and so large, they are not the same. They are not the same image making process as anything you would be able to have in your home. They're not the same
Of
image making
course.
process as a inkjet printer or a darkroom printer. It's just completely different. And so you see your work in a completely unique way. Looking at my work in this book, it doesn't look like that anywhere else. It's such a specific process for showing your work, that you can feel the weight of the machines. You can when you get the book, you can smell the ink, even though it's been off the press for like a couple months.
Yeah.
We physically printed them in December, and they're about to get here. They're on a freight boat right now, and they're about to get here in a couple days, in about a week. And it'll been like almost 4 months. When I open up those boxes, I'm gonna smell that ink, and
Nice.
it's like you can't get that anywhere else. So it's such a cool process.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing that I didn't really know existed until I started making books.
And I noticed this a long time ago, and I noticed you were shooting ISO 3200 film, and I was always like, why? And then actually today you posted a thing on Instagram. I guess it's the first portrait of the book, which we'll talk about in a bit. But you kind of hinted as to why you shoot 3200, kind of what the origin of that was.
Yeah,
So can you actually walk us through that?
yeah. It's a total happy accident. I was at a point in my journey. This was before I had a career. Must have been right out of college, right around college age, right out of college. And I was still experimenting with film stocks and still experimenting with color versus black and white, and going through those phases of trying to find what visually resonates for me.
This video is brought to you by the New Classic Film web store. We got the best prices on the web for the color film that you really love. Cinestill 400D, Portra 400, and of course we got our own New Classic Easy 400 black and white film. So click on the link down below and go shopping.
I had exposed for the FP100 of my friend Bates, who I was just at her place taking her portrait. She was a very cool artist, and I was treating it like I was treating it like an assignment. I was treating it like, hey, what would I have if someone's writing a story about this woman? How would I go in and take her picture? And so I was doing some digital capturing, like I said, like 3 different scenes, and then the backdrops, and I exposed for FP100. The tests looked great. Uh, and then I just started shooting the film, and I'd forgotten that I knew I had it in there, but on set forgot that I was shooting 3200.
Yeah.
And I had some 3200 because I was shooting like some interiors of a family member of my grandpa's house, and like I was like, oh, I need some super high speed. I don't want to put any lights in there. I need something really high speed. But so I just probably had some extra rolls from that. Honestly, I don't even. It's not a good reason to have them. Um, and yeah, I overexposed the film by 5 stops. I mean, what can you say? Like that's just what it was. And I didn't have any more film on me, so it wasn't like I got to go back and press redo. So I just was like, all right, well that sucks. We'll see what happens, I guess. And I brought it to my lab and I told them that I had overexposed it. And my guy Carrie, he's the guy who develops my film, and he was like, all right, I'll see what I can do. And he wizarded up some proprietary development process for all of the elements. I told him all the things that were wrong, and the film came out so dark, like black. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you've just been burned in this. Like it's like looking at the sun. But there was something there. There was information there, and I pulled it down, and I was just like, wow, this is awesome. And I was really into it, and I think it had to do with the texture, the tones, just the kind of whimsical nature of the origin of it,
Yeah.
and I just loved the way that she was framed, and I just said, this I can do again. I can repeat this, and it can be my thing. Um, and that's what I thought at the time. And going on from there until through my career, I also realized that it was a style that it was a visual representation of my process, and so it was a style that I didn't just think was cool, but a style that worked for what I'm trying to achieve as a photographer and how I operate with folks. And so I think I didn't connect the dots on that at the time, but that's why it stuck with me so long. I mean, anyone can copy me. They can get the 3200 film and they can
Yeah.
blast it over, and they can do all the things that I do. But uh, it's the fact that it synced up with who I am and how I operate and how I treat my subjects, and how I make photographs and how I love photography, that really was the reason why it kind of made this beautiful music to my ears, and there you go. That's how it started out.